Riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise. Thou my inheritance now and always. One more time. Riches I heed not, nor man's empty praise. Thou my inheritance now and always. Good words right there to think about. Because there are a lot of men who love men's empty praise. And riches they heed and have heeded many years in the name of God. These used God salesmen, you see. So, what really is a thorn in the side? Many love to say it was sin, you see. Paul was up to something. He was sinning. And God just told him his grace was sufficient. And I'll go with that. So let's take some for examples here. First off, let's remember, first we're not riches he seek not, right? Nor man's empty praise. Starting off with that, right? And a lot of pastors right now love to talk about how holy they are and what really is sin and what's not. But shouldn't that be between me and God if I know him individually? And if it is, let's say, just like smoking pot or smoking cigarettes or drinking wine or drinking beer or tequila, let's just go with those as examples, okay? And others will tell me, hey, you can't smoke or you can't smoke pot. That's a sin. But if I can do it in a way that doesn't make me stupid, like drunk with wine, or make me so I can't breathe, so I've got emphysema, I can't even talk, well then, it might not be sin, right? But if it is a thorn in my side to keep me from being self-righteous, which I think might have been something in that verse, then it might keep me from loving myself too much and getting prideful and beastly at heart. So that might be a good thing, right? And if I do it in a way, and if I ever do it in a way that I get abusive, well then I can talk to God about it and ask forgiveness. That is what it was all about in the first place, right? So I don't think I get too worried about what is your thorn in the side right now. And like right now, that Chuck E. Cheese show is saying that you should worship on Sunday, and it's so important because it's the Lord's Day, and that's why Jesus rose from the dead, so we could celebrate on Sunday. Well, he said he came to fulfill the law, but he never said he came to change it. And it never says that he didn't worship on Sabbath day when he was here, or that the disciples ever stopped doing that just because they worshiped on Sunday. In Acts 2, I think there's pretty good evidence they worshiped every day, which in our hearts we should do anyway. And Sabbath law was a lot about rest. And resting on Sunday makes no sense at all. If there's something that's demonic or from the devil, it would be that. Why would you rest first before you work? So, as far as worship goes, don't think it really matters to the King who comes if it's Sunday or Sabbath as it originally was. But as far as saying I must do it on Sunday because that's the day the Lord rose, well, there's no evidence for that because it says they worship on the Lord's Day. There's not even evidence that that was even on Sunday. So let's not get too legalistic here. Which is one of the sin of those Pharisees is that they love to talk about, oh yes, you can heal on the Sabbath day. That's because they had those eyes that were all blind, you see. That's why he kept saying, let him who sees, let him see. Because they were blinded, because our two eyes, you see, one was made to love our neighbor, and the other was made for our desires. But you see, if these pastors love money, he said you can't love God and money for a reason, see? Because you'll love one and hate the other. And they obviously don't hate money, as none of them are homeless yet. Hello, do you want to talk about a thorn in the side right now? Or smoking being it? I think a biggest thorn of all would be that money pit, which is the dollar turning the pesos, but yet all these pastors are holding on to it, as if it's going to save them on that day of the Lord, when the king comes to settle up things and take out the chaff. So, well, I'm not going to really worry too much about my thorn on the side. I'm going to take it like Paul and say, hey, you know what, Lord, I don't think it's sin. And if you don't, that's great too. But if I can enlarge your kingdom, I'm spreading more seed while I do it. Hey, what the heck? Because if not doing it makes me too nuts and too mad and too stressed out about all these in the fog sheep who have no ears to hear, no eyes to see, because they're in doctrinal zombie land Titanics, and they're like, hey, this is really comfy, all my friends are here, and this pastor, he so tickles my ears. David, that king, you know, he was really good. Well, he's gonna be back with that king, man. He always followed that golden rule, right? But he was never into those doctrinal Titanics, all right. So you might want to just get off that ship, because he was really good at, like, giving things in love, like when he first became king and celebrated by dancing naked in the street. They don't tell us how naked he was, but Michael, his wife, got jealous because the girls were all smiling at him and loving what he was doing, and he was dancing in the street for the king, you know, for God. And he danced, and all the girls smiled and were so like, oh, this is beautiful. And then he got home, and his wife, who was a princess when he married her, well, she said, you're just trying to impress the girls with that dancing for God stuff, trying to get them all turned on up. Well, she was no longer mentioned in the Bible, and it seems that marriage was over real quick, because then we meet Abigail, who was a treasure of a girl, and she had a miserable husband. So things all work out in the good in the end, but don't trust these ones who make you feel comfortable, because the greatest comfort of all comes from the king when you got his blood on your heart. Even if you've got some kind of thorn in your side, if your eye is right for your neighbor, loving him right and loving your king, then you don't got nothing to worry about, see, because it's all good with him. So what the heck? You follow the 2 greatest commandments for start, and worship any day you want, but resting on Sabbath would seem to be basic simplicity and logic and wisdom from God. But then again, you know, what is that verse? The wisdom of man is foolishness to God, and the wisdom of God is foolishness to man. Love of money is the root of all evil. You can't love God and money. So, if you just love that coming king and his father, you know, who we were supposed to be praying to, and ask him to bring his kingdom to earth and make it all better so he can come here, start loving one another and stop hating each other and trying to blow everything up and saying, let's kill all these. How about let's all bow to the King, starting now, because he's so good to get us this far. So who are we mad with, and what did they do, and who is bad, and who is good? If we're all pointing our fingers at each other with 3 fingers pointing back, and didn't he say, whoever has no sin, cast the first stone?